everyone, and welcome to the Barbecue Bourbon and Business Podcast show. My name is Helena, and joining me today is my very good friend and business partner, Luke. Hi, Luke.
Good evening. Welcome. Great to have you back.
So building a business should be fun. So in between some good bourbons and sharing a few backyard barbecue tips, we are sharing practical, no-nonsense strategies to help you stop trading time for money, turn your business into a valuable asset, and build a smart business engine that gives you the freedom to enjoy the things you love, like sipping on good bourbon and a low and slow barbecue with family and friends. Now, in the last episode, we discussed step 1 of the 7 steps to building a smart business engine that not only gives you the time and money freedom, but also increases the value of your business. Step 1 was all about coming to terms with your self-sabotaging traits and limiting beliefs that negatively impact your business and personal brand. And we learned a lot about ourselves and what our moron reading is. So hopefully we've all taken the time to battle those demons and are ready to move on to step 2, which is optimizing your niche. It doesn't matter if you've just started out in business or if you've been in business for a while, because this step sets the trajectory of the success of your business. And you want to make sure that you are not mining in a lead mine and looking for gold. But before we begin, let's do our favorite part of the night and pour ourselves a drink. Do you have yourself a drink there, Luke?
Can you hear it?
Hey, I'm mixing things up. I've got a cocktail. I'm just going to show it to you, to all of us watching.
That's very fancy
on YouTube. Look, it's got an orange peel garnish and everything. Now this is a Boulevardier. Boulevardier. Have you heard of a Negroni before?
Say that again.
Have you heard of a Negroni before?
Yeah, I've heard of a Negroni, but what the hell was that thing you said
So
before?
this Boulevardier, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, is like a Negroni because it uses the same stuff, but instead of having gin, it's got bourbon. So it's I did equal parts Eagle Rare, some sweet fortified wine, which is Rosso Vermouth, and some Campari, which is like a fruit liqueur. And then all you do, it's super easy. Like you can do this, right? So all you have to do is like get a big jar or whatever, put lots of ice in it and do equal parts. So if you do 30 mils of bourbon, you do 30 mils of Rosso Vermouth, and you do 30 mils of Campari, and then you just stir and you keep stirring and you keep stirring. And then when you think you finish stirring, you keep stirring, because what you want it to do is like mix together, but also dilute a little bit, and you strain it into a new glass. And I've got a big ice cube in mine. So a new glass with ice and a garnish, a orange peel garnish, and it's amazing.
You squeeze the orange citrus into the drink, and then...
So you can. So I'm gonna for all of you watching us on YouTube, I am taking the garnish out. So what you do is like twist it above the glass, so that kind of like orange essence comes out. That kind of beautiful orange essence smell comes out. And you can even rub it onto the rim of your glass. And then we use, and this is the fun part if you want to get adventurous, when you're twisting it and squeezing that essence out, you can also light it at the same time. So that that's what you see at bars sometimes, is like them lighting it, and that essence like goes, and it helps create that essence and keep that oil in there. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
It's very fancy for this show.
I know. We're getting a little bit fancy. I felt like something a little bit different.
Well, you have to taste it in front of everyone and go like, like, oh my God. I can't
it's like, can you hear me? I'm tasting it right now. I'm feeling a little bit ladylike. It's really good if you haven't tried it before. We'll pop the recipe on our website. You should all have a go. It's super easy. You don't need any fancy equipment. You don't need to know anything about making cocktails. It's super easy to do. You just need lots of ice and something big to mix it in. So you can even make quite a few at a time and then like pour it out into some cups. So it's really cool. It's really cool to have for barbecues because you can make quite a lot at the same time. So yeah. I'll make one for you, Luke. Next time we're over. So I'll pop the recipe on our website, which is barbecuebourbonbusiness.com, for anyone who wants to try it out. And don't forget, if you make it, please upload a photo to social media and tag us in it at barbecuebourbonbusiness.com. We'd love to see what you're cooking.
And be honest and tell us if you like or you threw it on the cat.
I know. The best tip I can give you, right, for this is, like I said, I use Eagle Bourbon, Eagle Rare Bourbon, which is our bourbon of the month. You can use any bourbon that you want, but the quality of what you use will depend how good your cocktail is. So keep that in mind. So speaking of drinks, let's pour ourselves a drink, sit back and relax and enjoy this next episode. So we're talking about step 2, which is optimizing your niche. Isn't that right, Luke?
That's right. So, okay. So if we take a basic business equation, right? Any business, you have a niche, an offer, your resonating message, which is your marketing, and then you have a result. Does the stuff is it working or isn't it working? That's a business equation. And the niche, which is what we're talking about today, is often very confusing for people. So here's what most people do in this business equation. They focus on their offer. I have a product, I have a service, and I'm trying to sell it. That's the offer. It's not necessarily what the customer wants. In fact, most times it isn't. And so they have their product, their service that they think is lovely and marvelous. And they spend time, energy, effort, money. They focus on sales and marketing, trying to get leads. They have websites, social media campaigns, digital marketing agencies, all these people roaring around trying to do this stuff. They're trying to get 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. They're famous on Instagram. They put product development packages. They do sales presentations. They try and build a list, etc., etc., etc. And they're focused on selling their stuff. And what they're doing is busy spinning their tails round and round and round. And they wear themselves out and they're getting nowhere fast with lots of effort. And why? Because they are selling something in this equation. They're focused on the offer from their perspective. Their great idea, how they're going to sell it, how they're going to design it, how they're going to price it. And then they just try to sell it to anyone who will buy it. Yeah. They pay no attention to this very important piece called your niche. Your niche is who wants to buy your stuff. And they have no analytics to see if the process, methodology, or output of what they're doing is actually working. In other words, is my offer actually correct? Or am I actually selling to the right people? And is the way I'm marketing correct? What's my result? Is it right or wrong what I'm doing? What is working and why? If it's not working, why not? So instead, they just keep doing the same stuff each day and hope their businesses just get better. Now, does this sound familiar to you listening out there? Because
it does, right? And
most people do this.
And we hear like business owners saying, I'm not selling enough because I don't have the right product because one person has asked them for one random thing, and then they end up with this huge list of products, or they think they're not selling enough because they need to do reels, or they need to do stories, or they need to be on every social media platform you can think of. But that's not the point, right? No matter what your product is, no matter how many people you get in front of, if it's not the right niche, it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's key what you're saying there. This is where people get confused. When you're on Instagram marketing, you're not selling your product and service, right? You are selling your resonating message. People couldn't give a rat's ass what your product's all about. Absolutely. All they care about is what is it going to do for them? Is it going to change their lives, fix their problems? That's called a resonating message. But a message only resonates if you're talking to the right people. So what should your goal be? Your goal should be looking for who buys from you the quickest and the easiest. This is why there's a sequential process we're talking about here. This is the first step, right? Well, step 2, the first step is fixing your brain. Step 2 is who buys from you the quickest and easiest. This is your starting point. And so there's two activities here that most people do in business. The first one is, are you trying to find gold in a lead mine? Which is what most people do. They have their product and service and they just try and sell it to anyone and they hope someone buys. That's just like trying to find gold in a lead mine. What you should be doing is spending that time and energy and effort trying to find your gold mine. Because if you find a gold mine, well then obviously what are you going to do? Find gold. So it's a logical process, but people just don't do this. So what you want to do is you want to follow where the money is flowing. You want to go where customers are spending money easily. And if you listen and follow the cash, of course, you're going to be led straight to the gold mines. What you want to do is you want to shift your business there. What you don't want to do, which what most people try and do, is I have my idea, it's my idea, my service, and they try and pull an entire market to you over here waving and shouting how marvelous your product and services. You can't pull a market to your idea. It's impossible, right? Unless you're some crazy crusader. That's just impossible. It's too hard. You're going to spend your life and the rest of the money.
You're battling to educate people to make them believe to buy your product, which is just, it's a losing battle.
Your job is not to educate people. Your job is to sell stuff that people want. Right? That's the trick of it. That's finding where the money is easy flowing. So if you're struggling and you've got hell bent and you're going to change and educate the world, good luck. But if you want to make quick and easy money in business, not magic shows, following process, just finding what people want to pay for and give it to them. It's that simple, but it's not simple in people's heads. They just don't do this. You need to go where the cash is flowing. Now, most people think, well, if there's no competition, I've got this great idea, no one else is doing this. Well, that's a problem. That's not a lucrative niche. Why? Because businesses go to where the cash is flowing. No smart business owner is going to go and try and fish in a pond that's got no fish. No smart person is going to try and find gold in a lead mine, right? The smart businesses go to where the cash is flowing and they adapt their solutions to where the money is flowing. That's what you need to be doing in your business. So here's the common mistake most people make in business. They try and sell their products and services to the wrong customers, as I've already said. So you can't sell meat to a vegetarian. And it doesn't matter how fancy your sales pitch is, whether the cow's been blessed by the Pope, or how many times your sales pitch, you practice it and perfect it, right? A vegetarian is just not going to buy your meat. Rather spend your time finding meat lovers, which is your gold mine, and sell to them. Stop wasting time and energy trying to sell to the wrong people. Now, so many businesses are taught, like, how do you build a business? Get out there and sell, 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 sell. And the sales managers, they get all these daily sales targets, and then they hand their sales teams to get on the phone and close the sales, and here's all these tricks and magic things to cram people in the corner and put all these pressure tactics on and close the sale and use this trick and trick. Like, how many people do you have to burn through each day to meet your targets? So when you think about this, how stupid this is, right? Think of what you're doing to your brain by pestering people to try and buy your products and services, by forcing, closing sales. And how many salespeople really want to be on the phone all day, pestering people, pressurizing people, can feel them squirming, but you pressurize them, going to clinch that sale, and be told phone call after phone call to go to hell. Like, who really wants to do that, right? So what should you be doing? Well, what I've said before, the first step is optimizing your business and building your business engine to optimize your niche by targeting your real customers. And we're going to come back to this very important thing a little bit later, the difference between real and ideal customers. Okay, so just make a note of that. I'm coming back to that. You want to find the customers who will buy from you the quickest and the easiest. So the first thing you want to do is market research on your target market, your real customers. Again, underline real customers here. I'm coming back to this. This will help you determine whether you're truly in a red hot niche or not. And the hotter the niche, the more cash is flowing easily, and the better your chances are of turning your business into a profitable and successful business. So let's begin at basics. What exactly is a niche? Because people get very confused with this. A niche is really just a bunch of people. And they all have similar pains and desires. That's what classifies them as a niche. But if you take that clump of people who have similar pains and desires, and you actually break it down, you break that large niche down into clusters, or what I call hot pots, where the water's boiling, where the money's bubbling, okay? And so you take that big patch of people and you break it into clumps or clusters or hot pots, and each hot pot or pot has deeper pains and desires. Now, if you have had a business that's been running for many years, this is actually a very easy process for you to do. What you need to go back over your analysis, your history of sales, and look at your customer profiles and saying, out of all these people, who is buying from me the quickest and the easiest? I promise you, you'll pick up a trend. If you're brand new to business and starting out, then what you should be doing is listen to what I'm saying is, as you go and sell to people, make a record of who's buying from you. What is their profile? And after 6, 7, 8, 9 months, a year, you can start to pick up a trend. And this is what I call your real customers, not your ideal customers. And again, I'm going to come back to that very important point in a sec. But let me give you an example of what I'm saying to put this into context, because again, this can be quite confusing. So let's take a niche of sick men, right? Sick men is a very broad niche, but it's still a niche of men. You get lots of men. You get fat men, skinny men, healthy men, whatever. And out of the men, you get sick men. That's a niche. But sick men is a huge, broad niche. So let's break that big niche down of sick men into what I call clusters or pots. Pots like on the stove, right? Different pots on the stove have different clusters of your niche. So let's take 6 sick men. And I've got 3 categories. Let's start off with men with headaches in one pot, one cluster. Then we have men with gout in another cluster. And then we have men with penile disorders.
Papa.
Right. So
that is a big deal.
So why am I telling this? Because those 3 clusters of sick men, men with headaches, have got a pain and problem scale. So does men with gout, and so does men with penile disorders. And what is the desired outcome to get their problem fixed? So a dude with a headache, maybe he's got a pain problem scale of 3, and his desired outcome to fix his headache is 4. And the dude with gout, maybe his pain problem is a bit more severe, so his pain scale goes up a bit, and his desire to get that throbbing toe fixed is a bit more than a headache because it's really, really painful. I wouldn't know. Someone told me about that. So maybe
but really, you don't have any gout?
Steaks and biltong and bourbon and beer. That's
lucky. Because we're both living very healthy lifestyles.
But now the final pot or cluster is men with penile disorders. Now, think about this: if you're a man, right? You've got a netball team coming over Saturday night, big party, and Waldo's just not. He's like flopping around. Things are not working out. So what is the pain and problem to scale? Well, that's a big problem, right? That's at least an 8.
I think that would be a 10 for most guys. That's like, we really need to get that fixed. I can't take you seriously every time you say penile disorder.
So what is the desired outcome to get his floppy Joe fixed by Saturday night? Well, that's a massive 10, right? So what you do then, right, is you look at these things I'm telling you about and you say, well, how's the money flowing in this, right? So a dude with a headache, he's got an okay pain problem. His desires, yes, I like to get my headache fixed. So therefore, the money flow is okay. Dude with gout, again, we've got a barbecue Saturday night, steaks on the barbecue. We've got beers going on. This gout problem needs to get fixed up quickly because I've got to carry on Saturday night. So the money flow and the desire to get that problem solved, the money flow is flowing better there, right? Then, of course, we go to old mate here with the penile disorder. The netball team's rocking up. That's like a massive urgency to get that problem fixed. So the money is flowing there. So out of those 3 clusters or pots, you're going to get a thing called what I like to call a hot pot. What is the thing that bubbles the most? Where out of those 3 niches, where would you focus your attention to if you were a doctor, for example? You'd go to where the money's naturally flowing, which is old floppy Joe on the right with his penile disorder. So I know this is a funny joke and it's fun, but it demonstrates a very clear point. So there's 2 things that come out of this. It's the want versus need. But there's never any money in anyone's need, right? Yeah, people need lots of things in life, but they don't necessarily pay for that, right? They buy what they want. because they have a desired outcome to serve a purpose or whatever in their life. So the money is always in the want. And I spoke earlier about the ideal versus real customers. And I think this is where most marketing companies don't know what the hell they're doing. They all tell you when you go to a marketing meeting, who's your ideal customer? And the truth is, you could say it's granny with purple hair, green teeth, 5 handbags, 6 poodles, and a Jaguar. That's your ideal customer. How do you know that person's going to pay you money? Because I promise you, if you ask any person in business, I've been here for 25 years, and I've had many, many businesses, where you start out in all your big plans, you land up somewhere completely different to where you started out. Ask any person in business, right? They're going to tell you the same thing. They started out doing this, and they landed up over here. And the people who are buying from the quickest and easiest have got nothing to do with their ideal customers. That's just marketing rubbish, fluff. The real money is in who is paying you the quickest and the easiest. That is your goal in marketing. Seek those people out, talk to those people, create a resonating message with your real customers. Forget about your ideal customers, because the chances are that's all just madness. And just think about what I'm saying. If you get all your marketing towards your ideal customers who are completely couldn't care less about your product, well then where's your business? Where's all your fancy marketing? It just doesn't work. So this is really important what I'm telling you. You've got to find your niche first. You've got to find the gold. You've got to find your gold mine. Get out of the lead mines.
Can I just point out, when we're talking about money, we're not talking about we're not talking about how much people are willing to spend. You can't look at a niche and go, those people don't have the money. We're talking about how much of a desire do they want to solve their problem, because they will spend the money. We talked about this before, like in our courses, and a lot of the time we speak about with our clients, you'll have young girls who are barely making any money in the job that they're doing, but they'll still go get lip injections, and they'll still go get this done, and they'll still go get their nails done, because that's a desire for them. They don't have enough money to do it, but they're willing to pay for it. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about like that money desire and that willingness to spend, not how much they have or if they can buy, it's how much they want to buy. And that's an important thing that people get stuck on a lot, is I can't go to that niche because they don't have the money. That's not the idea of what we're talking about.
That's a huge point you're talking about. A lot of people get caught up in, well, this niche doesn't have money, like you say, young kids, whatever. People, like iPhones, you get these clowns who sleep outside an iPhone store for 3 weeks because a new iPhone 12, 15, whatever's coming out. The dude, I don't even know what, they don't even have any money. They're at their home in their mother's basement, but it doesn't matter. They find $1,500 to buy this new thing, and they camp on a doorstep. So the thing is, it's not your job to worry about if your customers have money or not. That's not your problem. Your goal is to give them what they want, because if you don't give them, trust me, they don't care about you and your morals. If you're so, got all that stuff, go and become a monk or a nun or something, because it's true.
That's right. It's not a business, right? Yeah.
These people are going to spend this money, whether you are dressed in a priest suit or not. They're going to go and find someone who wants to sell them what they're looking for. Your goal is to find people who want to buy stuff and give them the stuff. That's the secret of business. That's where the money's flowing. If you've got a problem with that process, well, you should probably become a monk or something, because that's not how business works. It's the truth, right?
It's true, right? Yeah, it is. If you're after a serious business that wants to make money, because I know we talked about in an earlier episodes, what's your idea of like a successful business? It's still, you still have to make profit. You still have to make money. It's not just about, If you
don't be on a crusade to say whatever, I'm not selling because I don't have money, that's not a business. That's like I say, put up a signboard and protest, because those people couldn't care less about you and your stories. They are going to go and spend their money where the hell they want. That's the truth. And so the final piece is, you are not your customer, right? You probably want to write this down. You are not your customer. Don't think on behalf of your customer, because you're going to get it wrong. So find out what your customers want to pay for and just give it to them, right? This is understanding how money flows. This is understanding niching. So let me give you some real life examples now of how we help people. And I'll give you an example of my own business, of how people have been in business for many years. The first one is of Tony the photographer. When I was doing live workshops and business clubs many years ago, I met Tony. He was a photographer, an incredibly talented photographer, but he'd been going for 8 years and never made any money. So I said to him, well, what is your niche? What's your story? And of course he says, I take photographs.
Yeah, I'm a photographer.
Fine. I said, okay, so let's do this process of breaking down your big, broad niche of photography. Let's see who are your clusters or plots. So here are some examples of what he wrote down. School photos, family photos, food photography, pet photography, weddings, 21st, women's boudoir. So you can see photography broken down into those 6 clusters or pots immediately starts showing things of those are what you call, they're all going to have different messages. A person who wants a school photo is very different to someone who wants a 21st wedding. A woman's boudoir, which is like the glamour photos, is very different to a pet, someone taking a dog or poochie, right? So I hope this is really making sense. And if you apply what I've just said, what is the pain score for all of those pots or clusters? What is the desire level to get something done? And as a result of that, well, what is the money flow? So here's what happened. So Tony he struggled for 8 years. He just wasn't making money, right? So I said to him, well, like, do this exercise, write this down and tell me where you think the money's flowing. And what he discovered was this: women's boudoir, or however you pronounce it. That's the glamour shots. When he would say to families, the mum particularly, who was the decision maker mainly for photos, would you like a family photo, lovely one of your kids, and put it on your wall and blah, blah, blah. He struggled. Oh, the husband's away and we haven't got money and the kids are brats, blah, blah, blah. There's always a story. It just wasn't a priority. In other words, the desire was just not there. However, when he said, okay, well, how would you like a boudoir series, like you looking beautiful lingerie and whatever?
Yeah, a sexy photo for people who don't know, like a sexy photo of your wife for your husband or partner.
These things they do, for those who don't know, it's like the we call it glamour shots, like women dressed in lingerie and all these things that makes them look like they're 20 years younger, whatever. So whatever the thing is, right? Suddenly, the money appeared. Husband wasn't a problem. Kids were not a problem. I'll do it. 3 times the price of family photos, right? This is what you call listening to where the money flows. So suddenly out of a niche where there's no money in all the big stories because there's no desire, the pain wasn't big enough. Women's boudoir was a hot pot. You didn't have to sell. Like as soon as you said you're going to look younger than 20 years, whatever these things do, hands down sold. And then what happened, these ladies would take these beautiful photos of them back to the home and show the husband and the kids, and it was lovely for 5 minutes. And they said, well, what about us? So then Tony would get a phone call and say, okay, we better do the family photographs now.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a true story, right? And this is what you call understanding niching, understanding how money flows. Now, let me give you a real life example of my own business. When I started selling designing computer software as a kid, Gary and I, and we made no money because we were trying to sell in a non-lucrative niche. We were digging big time in a lead mine trying to find gold. And it was just a balls up, right? Absolute disaster. But we started listening to where the money was flowing. And some of you heard the story before, but eventually when we were trying to sell all the software, people were saying, thanks guys, you're nice guys, we just stuff crap we don't want. But do you sell computers? We like to buy a monitor, a new computer, a notebook, whatever. We weren't even trying to sell the stuff. They just asked us. This is what you call where the money is naturally flowing. So we shifted. There's a thing called shifting and sifting. It's a terminology I use to bring your business closer to where people have a big problem they're prepared to pay for. And so we did. We shifted our entire business and created stores, retail stores to sell computer hardware from massive shift from writing computer programming, right, which just wasn't working. This is called shifting and sifting. And then even so the shift and sift process, we ended up selling computers. Computers is like sick men. It's a massive niche. And so I applied this process when I eventually started figuring things out. You can take computers and break it down into things like this, into pots or clusters like this. Gamers, bargain hunters, large businesses, small business, home businesses, and families. Those are all people buying computers, but their needs, their desires are completely different. If you market to a family, very different to a corporate IT manager who's looking after an IT department. Does this make sense? So you can't have, this is where you can't have ideal customers and start marketing. You have to find your real customers. So what I found after 2 years of being in business, of 18 months of living hell, I found the money was naturally flowing to families. So our resonating message and what we were trying to do was naturally going to where families were. That was easy money. Gamers, large businesses, that was hard work for us. So I eventually built my entire business around what I call my hot pot, which is families. That became my entire business. Once I found my niche, my gold, got rid of the lead mine, found my gold in my gold mine, I then created my resonating message based on my niche. I understood families were then buying from me easily. Therefore, I could create my resonating message. I couldn't create a resonating message selling computers and then trying to attract families, large businesses, gamers, bargain hunters. This is where marketing falls on its head. You have to follow this process to get an accurate resonating message. And that business went from $800 to $12 million in 5 years. Because of this process I'm telling you about now, the first step is optimizing your niche, right? Finding out who truly wants to buy from you the quickest and easiest, your real customers. Forget about all your ideal customer rubbish. So, mastering your niche. What is your goal? Your goal is to find the desire of your niche. And you should start this right away. Doesn't matter if you've been in business 15 years, because markets change, customers' behaviors change, things change. And in today's world, things change way faster than they used to 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago, right? So you really have to be on top of this, of the movements and profiles of your niche. And really become the observer of where the cash is flowing. And so what you should never do is start jumping around all over niche jump. Rather is shift and sift like I'm showing you. Listen to who you're selling to. What are they resonating with and what are they moving away from? What are they asking for? Who's buying from you the quickest and easiest? And shift and sift as opposed to quickly jumping to a brand new thing and a brand new thing. And the way you do this is through research. You don't guess. Remember what I said, you are not your customer. So here's some tips.
I think that's a big point, Luke. Like not guessing. You've been in business for a while. You think you know what your niche is. You're used to your ideal customer, right? What you think your ideal customer is. But that's the thing is like doing the research, not guessing, not going, oh, those people came to me because of this, maybe because of this, maybe because of that. You need to ask. You need to ask why they came to you, why they didn't go to the competition, why they came to you and why they chose you.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're not your customer. Don't assume. Because if you assume, I promise you, you're going to get it wrong. How do you do research? Well, here's some tips. First of all, look at your top competitor websites. Now I say top competitor. Your top competitors are the people who know what they're doing. They've spent years and hundreds, if not millions of dollars figuring things out. So go and check out what they're doing. Look at Amazon Best.
What if you can't find competitors?
If you can't find competitors, that means you're in a non-lucrative niche. If you got some fancy thing, like sunglasses or penguins or something, and you think it's marvelous because your grandmother told you, well, if no one's doing that, trust me, that's a disaster niche. You need to shift your business. You need lots of competition. That means money is flowing there. All right. Next thing is look at Amazon bestseller books. Like, why are they bestsellers? Because that means people are buying the topics. It's obvious, right? That means these are hot things that you should be looking at. And check out forums, Facebook and Google. Like, what are the trends? What are the hot things? What are people asking about? What are people saying? These are all the problems. These are like no one's doing this supplying solutions. What are all their frustrations that you can, these are hot niches, but competition is making mistakes everywhere. These are gaps that you can plug in red hot niches. And the biggest one you can do is go and ask your database. We deal with many, many clients around the world, and no one has ever done this process. You can't believe it. They've been going for 10 years. They've never once done a survey on, like, what do your customers really want? How do they shop? What is it really, like, all the things that you should know, they don't know. They've never done it. Because why? Because they guess. They think on half of their custom. Oh, half of it. This is Bourbon time. I can see it settling in here.
You know what? Like,
normally happens about 3/4 of the way through.
I know, it's like, oh, you know, I'm almost finished. So I'm like, whoo. But you know what? This is a big thing for people. Like, they think they get stuck in this niche, and they like think they know their niche. Even, to be honest, with our business, right? We've changed our niche and shifted and sifted, like you said, to many different areas and to many different hot pots until we find the right one. It's not a one-time thing. It happens. You have to do it. You have to progress. You have to change. Niches change. And we talked in the last episode as well. If you haven't listened to it, please go back to it. It changes. Buying factors for customers change. What their needs change. It evolves. It changes. So you need to do the same.
The thing that you need to think about and understand is business is a process. It's a sequential process. This is what most people just don't get. They just, they think, let me fix my website, let me change the price, let me put a new Facebook advert out. That's not going to fix your problem, right? It's a sequence. Everything has to line up. And what I'm talking about is find your gold mine. Find who really wants to buy your stuff, and you'll see your business will start to transform. It's not a magic thing. It's just a logical thing, how money flows. So what do you really want to be doing? You are trying to find answers. You are seeking the truth about your customers, your real customers. I've said this word many times through this podcast, and I'm emphasizing, because this is the secret to your success. It's not like a sale ticket. Find out from your real customers, the ones who are buying from you the quickest and easiest, what are their deepest problems, their fears, their pains, their frustrations. What are their frustrations? Their frustrations are they want to spend money, but your competition is letting them down for whatever reason. They're not open on the right days. That was one of my big breakthroughs. So when I started selling computer in retail environments back in the 90s, my competition were not open on the weekends. They weren't. They were selling from garages. And my customers, with our families, wanted to shop predominantly on Sundays and weekends because that's family time. So there's a red hot niche that my competition were just not capitalizing. There was a frustration by listening to them. And so I was the first one in our province to open on the weekend, and the business started to go absolutely nuts. In fact, my resonating message eventually became Atomic Computers, the family computer store, open 7 days a week. A simple thing like that. I didn't make it up after drinking 12 bourbons. I made that up because I listened to the resonating messages my customers were asking me. I wasn't too clever in thinking I had the answers. Because when I first started out, I thought I had answers, and I came on my ass big time, right? And most businesses do this. So you're seeking the truth of what are their desired outcomes, their pains, their problems. And so to almost finish this off now, the point of this step 2 is understanding money in your niche. You cannot chase 2 rabbits at once, because what's going to happen? You're going to catch none. That's the same thing. You can't go after 2 niches. You need to become a specialist. And think about this. So if you love steak, would you go to a specialist steakhouse that does Wagyu with marble smalls of 5 plus, dry aged meat cabinets, blah, blah, blah? Or would you go to the Chinese takeaway down the road that does ducks, eggs, and fried toast and lemonade, whatever, and they do steak on Friday night for $2? Where would you go for a steak? It's obvious. Of course, you go to the specialist. And what happens when you go to the specialist? You pay so much more money. And if you're a specialist, you stand out easier in trying to sell everything to everything. And of course, if you're a specialist, it's way more easier to market and sell. So to end this off, here's a summary of niching. You start with your large niche, and then you niche that down into smaller pots or clusters. And you want to become really obsessed with your customers' deepest pains, problems, frustrations, and their most powerful desires. Right? So you follow the money, and then what you do is you shift and sift your business to your hot pot, a clump of customers who are buying from you the quickest and easiest. And what you need to do, the simple thing, is you just need to know your customers better than your competition. So if you want to, this was step 2, right? And last week we saw step 1. If you want to see a full masterclass of this with all the 7 steps compiled with real life case studies and examples and sequences, I've got a free masterclass. So I think it's 90 minutes. It's my life story of all the stuff of how you can build an incredible business in sequence. There's no fluff. It's all legit. Helena, is there a link somewhere that
yeah, we'll put a link in below this podcast episode description so everyone can have a look. It's the deep dive into the 7 steps, and especially into the niching that we're talking about right now.
Yeah. So now I can hear you all screaming, shouting. Okay, well, yes, it's all very well getting inside red hot niches, and there's lots of competition. That's very, very true. So what's the next logical question? How do you stand out amongst all this noise and competition and sell more than competition? Well, I'm going to be breaking that down and discussing that in detail in the next episode. It's still part of step 2, optimizing your niche, because it's the second part. The first part is finding that red hot niche, finding the gold mine, get out of the lead mine, get into the gold mine, get amongst it. Now you've got lots of competition. So now you know you're in a spot where the money's flowing, you know you're in the right spot. What's the next step? Or how do you stand out amongst this whole lot and dominate your niche? It's a lot simpler than you think. Once again, it's a logical step, and I'm going to cover that in detail in the next one.
Yeah, I think the important takeaway from this, right, is like, even if you're starting out as a new business, or if you've been in a business for 10, 15 years, looking at your niche in depth is a huge thing. Like we talked about this in the last episode, where your niche changes, their desires change. So you need to adjust and adapt to that, even if you've been in business for 15 years, right? So finding your niche and finding your desired outcomes for your customers and the quickest cash will be easier if you've been in business for a while than compared to someone who's just starting out, right? So you have to test that. But accepting the fact that it will take a little bit to adjust and find the right niche and to find the right buyers and to find the right products for them will take time. But if you've been in business for a while, this should be something that should be easy to find, because you have customers, you have previous sales. There's something in your business that your customers want. So you have to find that, like what this episode is about. You're in the mine, but you have to find the gold, and you have to start mining it. You can't just ignore it and say, I want to sell this product or this service. It's what do your customers actually want? So it's a big part of this episode. And it's something that a lot of people find hard to find, or find hard to accept that their niche has changed as well. Would you agree? Like, niches change.
100%. Particular people have been in business for a couple of years. It's what you call like the record needle goes around and grooves the record. So your brain is engrooved on one tune, and it's very hard to lift it and play another tune. It's just human nature. That's why we do step 1 as mindset. And the takeaway is this, for the whole ethos of this podcast, is building a business is a sequential process. And if you just put that in your brain and you accept it, your business will never be perfect. Just be at peace with that. If you understand that the steps you're taking in the right sequence will eventually bring you a beautiful business, a business that, again, creates value. For everything we teach is all about systemization, but also building a business that allows you to step back and have those 3 Fs that we talked about in the first few episodes. this is why we put so much emphasis into the sequencing, the 3Fs. Everyone talks about time and money freedom. I know most people don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's Ferraris and all this rubbish, which we discussed in the first few episodes, right? But there's a thing called the mind freedom. What's the point of building a business if you're stressed to death? You're depressed. You don't see your kids. What is the point if your life's a big balls up and you're trying to build a business? Go and get a job, or decide I'm going to build a business worth living for, something that you can sell in a couple of years or hand to your kids. That's the point. But that choice is yours. Creating
that valuable business. You're right. So thank you for joining us for a drink. I'm almost finished my cocktail.
Yeah, good timing.
So we did this so fast. I'm like, whoo. Thank you for joining us, everyone. If you want to know more about niching, like Luke said, we're going to pop the link to the 7 Steps Build a Smart Business Engine workshop in our description in the podcast. So please check it out. It's free. It's more in depth to what we're talking about. So, and also if you want to see our friendly faces or my fancy cocktail, check us out on YouTube. So we record every episode and we pop it up on YouTube. So our YouTube channel is Barbecue Bourbon Business Podcast Show. Check us out. We've got some fancy bar setups behind us. And if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to leave us a review. We'll really appreciate it. And to make sure you don't miss out on any of the episodes, don't forget to subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, or wherever you prefer to listen to your podcast. So cheers, everyone.
That's it.
That's it. Ka-ching.